Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish Task Force, JTF. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach. Before we get to Barack Hussein Obama's blatant plagiarism and how he's stealing lines from everybody in his so-called speeches, the QPTV viewers see the times that we're on the air. These are the evening times we're on the air for QPTV, and these are the daytimes we're on the air for QPTV, and this is our great forum. Barack Hussein Obama, who is being promoted day and night by the evil Bolshevik news media in this country, is stealing all of his speeches and plagiarizing all of his speeches from all types of different speakers. And finally, he's been caught stealing speeches from the governor of Massachusetts. The Clinton campaign actually complained about this. And because the Clinton campaign made it an issue, the news media was forced to pay attention to the fact that Obama is plagiarizing his speeches because Hillary Clinton and her campaign complained about it. But we on this program, way before that, for weeks have been telling you that he's stealing speeches from Jesse Jackson, and Jesse Jackson stole speeches from Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King plagiarized his speeches as well. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech is plagiarized almost word for word from a speech that was delivered in the 1952 Republican National Convention. And Martin Luther King's doctoral thesis at Boston University was also blatantly plagiarized. But I want to mention something in addition to going over the fact that Obama and Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King plagiarize their speeches and steal lines from other people. I want to show what a racial double standard, what a racist, anti-white, anti-Semitic double standard we have in this country. In 1988, Senator Joe Biden of Delaware was gaining a lot of momentum before the 1988 election, actually, before the primaries in late 1987. And he was really gaining momentum and exciting crowds, and they were saying he was an eloquent speaker and exciting the Democrat base. And he was on the verge of becoming the Democrat frontrunner for the 1988 Democrat presidential nomination. Senator Joe Biden of Delaware, a white guy, a white Irish senator from Delaware. And then he was caught stealing a speech from the British Labour Party candidate for Prime Minister. The British Labour Party candidate for Prime Minister made a speech, and Joe Biden took lines out of his speech and plagiarized lines out of his speech. Senator Joe Biden, who was considered to be a promising candidate for president, who was one of the leading candidates and was on the verge of becoming the Democrat frontrunner in 1988, a year when the Democrats were believed to have a good chance of winning. Senator Joe Biden's campaign collapsed as a result of that. Senator Joe Biden was forced to withdraw from his presidential race because of that, because he plagiarized one speech. One speech, he plagiarized some lines from the British Labour Party leader. That was the end of his campaign. People said, how can we trust somebody who steals lines from somebody else and doesn't attribute the lines, doesn't cite the person he's taking the lines from and pretends that it's his own lines? We can't trust somebody like that. We don't want somebody like that to be our candidate for president. That was the end of his campaign. He was ruined. And he ran again this year, but for 20 years he couldn't run for president. That haunted him for 20 years, and he was forced to withdraw from the race for the presidency. It was the end of his political career on a national level for 20 years. Barack Hussein Obama has done the same thing Joe Biden did in terms of plagiarizing. He admits that he plagiarized the speech of the governor of Massachusetts. He's been doing that not only with the governor of Massachusetts, he's been taking, as we mentioned, he's been stealing lines from Jesse Jackson, from Martin Luther King, from all other types of speakers, making them his own lines, literally stealing them. And he has done that 100 times more than Joe Biden did. 100 times. Joe Biden just did that with one speech. Barack Hussein Obama has been doing that in dozens of speeches all over the place, taking it from all different types of speakers. So he's done 100 times more plagiarizing than Joe Biden ever did. And Joe Biden was forced out of the race for the presidency because of this. Barack Hussein Obama is not being forced out of the race for the presidency. He's still supported, and it's as if it's no big deal. Nothing he does is any big deal. He could do anything he wants. He could get away with anything he wants. He has a license to plagiarize. He has a license to steal people's lines. He could do anything he wants. If he were a white candidate doing this, just as we saw with Joe Biden, that would be the end of his candidacy. Indeed, if he were white, would he have gotten this far? He admits that because he was black, that's why he's gotten this far. I mean, the guy ran for the U.S. Senate out of nowhere, in 2004 was elected overwhelmingly to the U.S. Senate in Illinois, a state that's overwhelmingly white. For no reason. I mean, he was an extreme left-wing state senator from South Chicago who had been involved in the most radical left organizations, who supported Jesse Jackson. Barack Hussein Obama was an extreme leftist, supported Jesse Jackson for president. Jesse Jackson for president. That's how it's, and even in the Democrat Party, that's considered to be extreme left. And someone like this was elected overwhelmingly to the U.S. Senate, no questions asked. If he were white and had no experience and came out of nowhere and decided to run for the Senate, for the U.S. Senate, would he have won the campaign? And then would he have been elected to the Senate overwhelmingly? And then, not only that, overnight he was turned into a national star by the evil left-wing news media. Would that have happened if he were white? I mean, the guy hadn't even been elected to the Senate yet in 2004, gave one speech at the Democrat National Convention. They made him a national star. Then he's elected to the Senate. A year after he's in the Senate. He's only in the U.S. Senate 1 year, and they're already crowning him as a front-running candidate for the Democrat presidential nomination, and now he is the front-runner, and I think he probably will get the Democrat nomination. Would any of these things happen to a white candidate? Would a white candidate who steals lines, plagiarizes speeches, is completely uninformed and inexperienced, has never held any serious public office, has never achieved one thing in his political career, is on the extreme left of the political spectrum? National Journal magazine went through all of his votes and said that he is the most radical left-wing member of the U.S. Senate out of 100 senators. Barack Hussein Obama is the most left-wing senator out of 100 senators. That's from National Journal magazine. And with this type of record, coming from the Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Louis Farrakhan wing of the Democrat Party, if you had a white guy with such an extreme record, with such a radical record, with no experience, who just plagiarizes, would a white candidate like that be taken seriously? I mean, come on. The only reason he's being taken seriously is because he's black. And then overlooking his Muslim past. And we've been through many times, we've gone through the fact that he did study and pray in mosques. He was educated in Muslim schools. He registered in 2 different schools as a Muslim student. His biological father and his stepfather, both Muslims. And I could go through the whole history of how he praises Islam and talks about how inspired he is by Islam and how he wants to, and he supports every Muslim dictator, every Muslim terrorist leader, immediately wants to invite them all to the White House if he's elected president. Would a white candidate with this type of background be taken seriously as a candidate for president? Barack Hussein Obama's ticket to success is the fact that he's black. That is the only thing that is propelling his candidacy. The news media wants to put a black man in the White House, no matter how inexperienced, no matter how dishonest, no matter how plagiarizing, no matter how unqualified, no matter how utterly incapable he is of being a leader, and no matter how horrific his background is, anti-American, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, the news media wants a black in the White House, and especially this black, precisely because he's from the radical left, because the news media is radical left-wing in this country. Join with us before it's too late. We're the only ones that are going to tell the real truth and expose him. We have a group called Jews Against Obama, JewsAgainstObama.com, JewsAgainstObama.org. You can go to our website. Join with us before it's too late. We can still stop him, but only if you join with us now. Shalom.